Yes.
So
Hey.
welcome to the May
Oh, wait, wait, wait,
30th.
wait, wait,
Well,
Raquel, we got to give you the cue. And oh, it's on already. Okay, so we're just talking and just talking. We're on all this time. Sorry. You did see. This is what happens when you're like in a live recording without a script. Uh, Welcome everybody. Formally, I'm Ralph Rivas, and we have
Craig
Mr.
Jenke.
Craig Jenke. There's Craig. Hey, Craig, how are you?
Welcome
Is
to
that
our Chicago Microsoft Power Platform User Group, May 30th edition. Normally, for those people who are attending, we do the last Wednesday of the month, but my daughters have a dance recital tomorrow and I can't make it. And Ralph agreed to move it to today. We were going to move it
yes?
up a week, but we didn't make that.
Right. So, we were thinking about last week and then just a bit too soon. We wanted to be in the end of the week. We might as well. We saw Tuesday free. Why not? And anyway, you're here and anyway, we're recording it. So let's take it from there. And
Take it from
I'm going to
here.
admit, I'm hitting the admit. And if you hear sounds coming through the system, yes, that is our team saying there's people coming in the lobby. Yes, that's all fine and well. So for the folks that are on the streaming, if you want to be in the live Teams chat, you got to go to our meetup group, in which there'll be a link over there for you to be able to follow through. That will give you a link to the Teams channel, and you can be here and join us in person. Otherwise, we will try to chat with you somehow, somewhere later, in the delayed mode.
Yep.
But
So our
meanwhile,
agenda for this meeting is our welcome. I don't have any idea why it says about our session. So we won't cover that.
mhm.
We're going to be talking about Build. So Microsoft Build was Microsoft's developer conference that they held last week. Pardon me, my voice is going. So there was a lot of new stuff about the Power Platform and some other areas that we will talk about. And then we close with any questions. So a little bit about Ask Us Anything having to do with the Power Platform. Ralph knows most of it. I will try to help out where I can. Ralph's sweet spot is licensing. So if you got questions about licensing, that would be a good one.
Yes, we are the only user group to dare take on licensing questions, and they're not Microsoft. Well, even Microsoft doesn't like to answer that.
And live to tell about it. So
and live to tell about it. There we go. That's true.
there we go.
I live. All right, let's take a look what we got.
Righty. So welcomes and introductions. I'm Craig Jenke. I am from Sugeti USA, which you can see as part of the
I'm seeing double over here. Are we both in Sugeti now? Did that just happen?
So I'm new to Sugeti. I was with Microsoft for a while. I was with Reply, but I recently joined Sugeti at the beginning of the month. So
Ralph talked me into making that transition. You're new and you're old from Sugeti, though.
Yes, I worked for Sugeti from 2015 to 17, 2013 to 15. That was it. So a while ago, I took an 8-year off and then I came back. So,
all right.
And a thing to, I don't know what our experience level here is, but we may or may not be looking for Power Platform developers. If anybody's interested, you could reach out to me or Ralph and we could tell you what we have.
Yep.
I don't think we have any like immediate openings, but we are lining up some work, so we'll need somebody.
It's the case of, they say, for the folks that are sort of like looking about. That's basically where we're at over here. As they say, everyone's all skittish about hiring anybody anywhere about anything. So I'm skittish and not. I'm the one. If it was up to me, it's like everyone's in, right? Then there's the case of like everyone wants to make sure there's projects and all that stuff. A lot of companies are in that same boat, so watch out for those. But we're just going to say, on the general basis, is if you're, as they say in the market, let us know. And otherwise,
so if you're not ready to move
people are looking for people
too, right? In a couple of weeks or months.
Yeah. So there's other people here who might be looking for that talent too. So we're not going to like be exclusive over here. So if someone's looking, feel free to use our forum to continue looking, because not everyone is fit for specific places, and that I understand. So they say, no harm, no foul. If you came over here and you decided to go to somebody else, we're fine, right?
Yes.
Right, Craig?
Yep. We also have the who's here, so I don't know what we're going to do.
So let's see. There's a lot of people here though this time around. So let's see. I think we have a good group here. Actually, just some very interesting folks that have attended. I think we should do a who's here, because last time there was like so many people we didn't have time for that. And I think we can go through, 10 or 9 people safely.
Yeah. So if you just want to tell us who you are and where you're from mostly, and then what you do with the Power Platform would be awesome. And I'm just going to go down the list so everybody should be able to see my screen. David, you can be first.
Yeah, hi, this is Dave Sidwell. I'm from a company in Chicago called Improving, and we do a lot of work with the Power Platform for our clients.
Sweet. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Eric.
Hey guys, I'm actually dialing in from Milwaukee, but I work for a company down in Chicago called Route 16. They're a Dynamics 365 consultancy, and I just started with them a while ago. But we're doing Dynamics stuff, which is, as you all know, Power Platform adjacent.
This is true. We might talk because we're also looking for partners. Just saying. Okay, let's continue.
Cool. Hal?
Hi there, Hal Hostetter, Tucson, Arizona, retired television engineer, and a consultant for Roland Shore and Tower, and an MSP firm, and a hanger-on at most meetings like this.
Yes, and also, by the way, let's not put him down. He's an MVP. All hail.
Yes, he's a
All hail
hanger-on
Hal.
MVP.
All right.
Yep,
and my
sorry
order
about
keeps
that. Office
changing.
Apps and Services MVP.
There we go.
Yay. Thanks. Gav, you keep bouncing around for some reason between you and Hal. So
Yeah, somebody's coming in and out. So we want to make sure we get back to Diana in a moment, who just joined us. Let's go to Gav.
Mine's brief, recruit, did North America region, done a few certifications, so I'm just here to learn. So backseat for me.
cool.
That's a beautiful
Thanks.
thing. All
We'll
right,
jump up
let's
to
go back
Diana.
She
You just
seems
came
like
through
an
the
early
door.
school teacher. Welcome to the door. We're saying hi to folks. Would you like to say hi? Hi.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I know exciting things have happened since I last attended this meeting.
Oh wow, yes, I heard
yeah.
about that.
You heard about that? Okay. Yes, so I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to contribute what I can.
Where are you from?
I live in Chicago. I'm from East Africa.
Yes, I remember you from past meetings.
We love. Yeah, that's right. We remember. We're just letting folks that are on the recording know, and the folks that are new here also to know as well. All right, let's jump to
Janessa.
Janessa. Janessa's mic is working, that's for sure, according to this.
She's blue.
And it's blue, and she's speaking, but her mic is not picking her up. Oh. We'll probably figure out the tech over here. Janessa, if you don't mind, we're going to go over to Matthew. Matthew, if you can come off mute, say hello.
Hey, good evening. Matt Conrad. I also worked for Improving out of our Chicago office, along with a couple other folks on the line. I actually recognize both of you from prior SP Fest here in the Chicagoland area.
I thought that was in the post office where our pictures are. I just checked.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. I'm actually just getting into the Power Platform space from an O&M or admin perspective, specifically in the GCC High and DoD clouds.
So I've got people that would love to talk to you
over there.
Government.
Absolutely. That's right. So learning a lot over the past few months, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I got some friends that work over in DC, and they're always asking me questions that I don't know anything from. I don't know anything about the GCC or the DoD cloud, but
mine's are
they
in low
work with
places, but you're in high, so you're good.
I know the biggest question is, when are we going to get the stuff that's in the regular tenant? But
the number one question for the GCC. What
yes, this seems like a nice feature, but will we ever get it? So,
all right.
Mikey
next
Swire was next.
Mike.
Hello, Mikey Swire here. So I am from Streamwood, Illinois. I work full-time right now for Harper College. Dabble in some consulting. I'm a 365 admin. I do a little bit of here and there with Power Platform, and always looking to learn.
Wonderful.
And Mike is the first. He's been with us since the first meeting.
He has.
Yes, I come and go.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran. Drop down to Russell.
Hi, I'm Russell Maloney. I'm based out of Chicago. I'm also with Improving. Improving, as you guys know, is a consulting firm.
We
We
have
have
a trend
17
going.
offices now.
Pattern.
We appreciate you guys attending. And then, so, okay, cool. Thank you. Greg, would you also?
Hey there. We've been doing some Power App and Power Automate stuff recently here at work, and just kind of wanted to tune into. I attended a couple of your other meetings, and they were pretty good. So I just wanted to come and attend this one.
We're going to copy that sound bit right there and replay it over and over for the next.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We're from Canada here too, so.
Oh wow! Then now we got the true endorsement for sure.
Yes, international.
Yes.
Awesome. Last but not least, we have Raquel.
Well, Raquel's our Raquel. Before we go to Raquel, I think we have Janessa. Is your sound issue resolved, or would you like us to go back there? Janessa?
I'm going to say no.
If you're not able to resolve the sound issue, that's okay. We can work that out next time. I'm just trying to see. There's a person that keeps trying to come in and it's not sticking. So we probably will get to that person later on. But right now, I just want to introduce you to Raquel, who is Raquel Rivas. So same name is not a coincidence. It's not child labor either. She's well educated and well past it and all this stuff. But doing our producing is Raquel over here. So there she is. Raquel, just say hi really quick.
Oh, hi.
There you go. She says her hi. She's great. Well, so she, in case there's some issues, she's watching also the chat. She's watching all the other things over here. And by the way, if you have witness protection issues on the internet, let her know, and she will digitize you later. Okay.
All right. That is it.
Let's proceed.
Okay. This is our little commercial for us because we are hosting this and we might as well. So if you're interested in all these slides, will be put up on the intranet in the meetup. The deck will be put up in the meetup by tomorrow. Usually I do it tomorrow morning, first thing, with a recording, a link to the recording of the video. If you have anything that you were interested in, hit us up at Capgemini.
Sure. Capgemini/Sageti. There we go. All right, let's go. What do we got here? Oh, the group. And the fact that you're here says you've already been through some of these. But for folks that are out there on the wild woolly internet, besides looking at us on YouTube, you can grab our meetup information over here and also our user group information from here. Let's go ahead and capture the QR code and follow through. We are in the community. The community, well, there's lots going on in the community. And if you're not already on there, there's more than just us and more than just Power Platform issues over there. A very good source and only growing and only getting better.
Yeah, and I was stupid and forgot to post it on this group. So anybody here came in through Meetup.
Yes.
So
we'll put that in. All right.
Yeah, basically Microsoft wants us to use their platform, but it's not a fully baked platform yet. It's about 90% there, so we're going to eventually try to get there because it's free and Meetup is not free.
Right.
And Sageti doesn't reimburse us yet.
Buy him.
There we go. So
meanwhile,
any notes before we
back at
go?
Ranch.
So before we
notes?
start,
Yes.
Again, this is going to be what we thought was important, or actually the notes that came out from Microsoft Build specifically for the Power Platform. So that's the bulk of the presentation. So before we start, though, I thought there was a bigger announcement that happened that wasn't necessarily Power Platform announcement, but Power Platform adjacent is what I would call. So that is the introduction of Microsoft Fabric. Basically, Microsoft is creating a platform, so to speak, for its Power systems. So everything from Azure Data Factory, Synapse, Analytics, and Power BI kind of all being rolled into one big platform of a product that should be easier to govern, to extend, to put all your information in and move it along that life cycle, and actually do something that they're calling data ops more than kind of like DevOps for data. So got anything to add to that, Ralph?
Well, take a look at the logo. Does that look very familiar. It's almost like I'm going to put the Power Platform and this one side by side. There's no coincidence, really. The whole point is it's part of now this group of things that they're putting together. I mean, Power BI is in there, and what is Power BI? It's part that's part of Power Platform. Well, is Power BI becoming traders? They're going to now go to another side? No, not exactly. The idea, though, is at the end of the day, data is king, and Dataverse or whatever data pieces you choose, it's all got to come from somewhere. The Power Platform is your low-code entry or universal portal into all of this. The reason why this is an important news is because all of a sudden the low-code portal with all its abilities has just become even more powerful with all the stuff and the data underneath. Hey, can we play the video? Let's play the video. And so we have it.
Introducing Microsoft Fabric, a unified data analytics platform. One experience, one business model. Unified data is stored in one lake, a SaaS data lake for the entire organization. Data is integrated and stored in an open format, allowing one copy to be used to train machine learning models, visualize data, and run SQL queries on the lake and data warehouse. A unified experience brings together all the tools data professionals need. Pipelines for orchestrating data movement, experiments for training machine learning models, semantic models for defining key metrics, and much more. And for business users, Fabric brings together data for collaborating and doing ad hoc analysis in Microsoft 365. Unified governance, security, and compliance is built in for all your data. And with Copilot from Microsoft Fabric, AI helps everyone be more productive. Whether it's writing SQL statements, building reports, or setting up automations based on triggers. All your data, all your teams, all in one place. This is Microsoft Fabric.
Yeah, I mean, that alone says like it just begs like the low code to be really part of that essentially and getting into that phase. It's low coding essentially that the data piece, the missing piece that we need to bring in there. We feel that this is extremely important to be part of the big picture. I like they call it the one lake. That's essentially what is it? It's like the one drive for data, right? But in a much bigger,
pretty much
humongous way.
So the link on the bottom of that page will take you here. I'll put it in the I'll put it in the chat right now while we have it, and then two, it'll be in the slide deck. So
yes,
you can just see what it's here.
This
video.
is one of those cases. No matter what you're doing with the Power Platform, as they say, it's good to know what's happening over here, lest you go build something and go crazy building something that probably could have just been a quick. Let's connect to this and just make
Introducing.
it a situation.
Yeah, so this is.
That's it. Look at it. Powerful AI models. Whoa.
Yeah,
Analytics. All right.
A lot of the discussing around building, and I don't think I got a slide on this, Ralph, so I'm going to let you pull that up later. But was around AI. Basically unifying your data, making sure that you've got powerful models and empowering the business for everywhere. Again, there's going to be another link here that takes you to the page where you can find out everything more about the product and get examples on that. So that will be this one right here that will also pull in there. And you can see where I pulled that from, and then some ways that you can actually reshape your data, unifying foundations. This is actually a pretty cool site. So cost management, you can see examples of that. How you would hook it in with Synapse and what you can do with that. So some really good stuff if data is what you're looking to do. And I've seen some cool things coming out of here with Power BI and some of the cool reports that you can do if you get access to the data. And it's all about really giving you access to your data across the enterprise instead of having it locked up in silos, trying to migrate it all up into that one data lake that Ralph was talking about and making it available. And then so again, the Fabric is the whole platform. And you can do things like have a data factory, basically ingesting or importing data from one place, doing some massaging of the data, tweaking the data, putting it into where you want it, get it across, use some of the other tools that are in there, and then having access to the data to be able to do reports and things like that. And it all lives in one spot. And where the important part, I think, kind of falls in that you can have a consistent experience. You can have a consistent computing and storage space, so it all kind of works the same. And in theory, you can better predict costs. But the governance security is really the important thing for me, because I've been talking to a number of customers lately, and they are doing things that I would call not exactly best practice on governance and security, like just using a standard login, because that's how they set it up to get it to work, and they never got back to or going around and properly securing their data or securing their networks. And if it was a more widely used program or data source that they were trying to use, it could easily be hacked or shared. So just trying to do those things, not good.
Yes. Oh, so and there was a question on our chat over here asking any word on what the cost and the licensing is for over here, because there's some couple of new items that are in here. For now, a lot of it's still in preview. We have not yet seen like here's a new price list or a licensing thing that you can click on to get to. To be sure, a lot of the things, the ones that were already over here, like Power BI or the Azure Data Factory or Synapse and Purview and all those pieces already have licensing and costs and stuff associated with them. Those are maintained for now. As far as we know, there's no price increases for those or price changes for those. Will there be like some sort of package deal or anything else? I think that's still TBD right now, as far as I know. I haven't heard them come back and say, hey, here's a licensing. Otherwise, let's just say my licensing course is going to become big when I add this to it. Or it's going to have to be a separate, so much for licensing in an hour, because this is definitely going to add to it ongoing. You can imagine, though, that since we're talking data, whatever the licensing is going to be, it's not going to be the case like we're doing for other Power Platform apps. It's going to be more similar on the line of what Power BI does it, or one of those other products do it. That's the kind of model to expect. So if at least we'll give you that kind of piece. And by the way, while the stuff is free in preview, have at it, as they say, before it gets taken away.
Yeah, I just saw somebody post something like that on Twitter. It's like,
Twitter.
Preview means free, right? Until you actually until you decide that you want it.
Exactly. It's the gateway drug, man. Hey, come on, man. Just take a couple of hits. You'll be fine. It won't hurt.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to talk about next. We're talking about build in the Power Platform. And a lot of this is going to come straight out of the Book of News.
Book of News.
Which doesn't seem to be a link, or it is a link. So I don't know if you all know this, but every time Microsoft does any kind of conference, they put together what they call a Book of News and put it out kind of right as the conference happens. So if it's Build, Ignite, whatever they Inspire, they'll do a Book of News, which will have all of the updates. So this is going to have the Power Platform updates in it, but if you go to the table of contents, you're going to see where you're going to get Azure, Edge, developer community, responsible AI, and all those kind of things. But since we're Power Platform, we're only going to care about the Power Platform tonight. I do have something else to cover after this, Ralph, but
we'll get there.
Because I totally forgot.
We might even show some stuff too, because there's some stuff we can actually start showing now. Speaking of announcements.
Well, Ralph is the demo king, so he'll do that. But basically, the first thing is under the first announcement for the acceleration of data-driven apps and development. So two big things that they announced were an Excel to app. So basically taking Excel and basically being able to use that to quickly do a data source and a UI on top of that. So you've seen a couple of these things, kind of like you can sketch an app and bring that in and import it and be able to create that as a framework for your app. So they're just doing that with Excel too. And then the other things are custom plugins in the Dataverse using Power FX, so that you can create your own plugins using the Power FX framework or language. What is that really? Is it a language? Is it? How would you describe that, Ralph?
PowerFX is actually it's sort of like a language framework. And by the way, because it's open source, you can take that PowerFX language, and if you have an app that you've made or whatever it is that you want to automate or do anything to, you can actually go into the open source for this and grab it and make it your language as well. That is what we're talking about with PowerFX. Essentially, the first major customer of PowerFX in this particular case is Dataverse. All right, using Dataverse to talk to it in the PowerFX frameworky type language, where essentially what it means here is the same thing or similar to what it means when you're making a Canvas app, or what eventually will be Power Automate. I mean, one of the big issues people complain about is like, hey, I write low code pieces in my Power Apps, but when I'm writing in Outlook in Automate, it's like this arcane sort of way of pushing stuff together. Now imagine if that stuff worked that particular way. I'm doing something in Dataverse and I want to command it like the columns to do stuff instead of like the DAXy type formulas. How about if I had the same way of talking to it in that particular case? That's where the PowerFX is all about. Canvas apps was the initial part of that. They were solving a problem, and then they realized whatever we do, we want to make it reusable. So it was created with the idea of reuse in mind. Even though it was for Canvas apps, they knew they were going to find its way to all the other apps. At some point, everybody will get their flavor of it. But now they went even further and they said, hey, use this PowerFX, the framework, and put your own thing in it. Right, and we'll probably give you a link to that. If you're interested in that, actually click us or like just go ahead and send a note. Or you can, as they say, use your, as they say, your Bing.
I did put a link to it in the chat.
Find out more about it. If you really want to get into it, if you're really that much of a hobbyist, you can definitely find out how it's done.
I put a link to it into the chat, and I know basically it's like a formula-based language. I didn't really know if it was considered a language or a platform or. And that's kind of the anal retentive.
We should put in the GitHub link so people can see how open sourcey it is when we get a chance. We'll do that a little bit later.
Yeah, so it is. Sometimes I get a little anal retentive and want to make sure that we get. That I get the explanation right. So
yes.
There we go. We can also do that. It is now in the thing, and I'll actually pull that across. So if you go to GitHub, it is here, PowerFX, and kind of explains what it is and how you can do some of the things that Ralph was talking about.
Right, definitely. So again, Dataverse is one of the first real major customers of this system, and they are doing it essentially to recreate essentially actions that you would otherwise be more complex or you have to do manually. A lot of stuff that was in Dataverse before, it seemed like you can only do it in the interface, or if you're packaging it for like deployment, that was it, right? For what you can do, you had to do it by hand otherwise. This essentially now creates those rules and ways to just add stuff in. I like this one here. Example, SQL stored procedure, and later leverage it directly from Dataverse. For if you really had to have it that way, well, it's nice for some folks that are used to it.
One thing I will say that I have heard more and more about, so I know we talked about Microsoft's push in AI. I have seen a lot more pushing on their side for the Dataverse and to be using the Dataverse as a data source, interactions between that and Power Apps, and specifically more integration between dynamic CRM systems, so the sales, marketing, customer relationship, and bringing that into Power Apps and into Teams. So so look for that, more of that announcements to be made with Dataverse getting a more front and center love, I guess.
Absolutely.
So
what was announced today? They came up at the Creator Kit. They used the Creator Kit to create a Dataverse. What was it? It was like a Dataverse accelerator. Build accelerators quickly, but with the Creator Kit. Is something that came out today. Basically, it's an output of all of this stuff that was going through. So there's an example of where they're trying to make that go, which means that if you can do that for Dataverse there, that probably work for CRM and D365 as well, but maybe not necessarily in the same way.
No, it was a Dataverse accelerator.
Yes. The idea, of course, is remember that You know what's a Dataverse accelerator? D365. That's the ultimate Dataverse accelerator. You get a whole bunch of stuff that you can work with right off the bat in Dataverse and start from there. Ultimate Dataverse accelerator. All right, what do we got? Streamlined data insights. Speaking of data. The data hygiene suite over here. With a few clicks, the developer can start a smarter and more contextually aware next generation apps, the AI experiences. Dude, how do we explain this one? This one was like little difficult. It's a little difficult to demo since a lot of it is still preview over here. And then the concept over here, when we say data hygiene, you'll see something like it. Like if you've seen, like they shown demos of the co-pilots, which create like a Dataverse piece to it, and it does all this like plumbing for you off the bat. It's sort of like in there, but it's they call it a suite, but it's going to be essentially built into the rest of the system is what's going to happen in that particular area.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of demos on that, but that was an announcement that they made that they're just, again, more integration with Dataverse and making it easier to get data in and out of, and do more standard queries. This is more on the pro dev side, because like the SQL guys, like the SQL TBA guys, that's something that they really want Dataverse to be SQL. So I don't know if it will be, but
they did their best to, like, to dress up the SQL and cover it up with stuff. They're like, can we have the SQL back? And it's like,
yeah,
how do we give them the SQL back and still maintain governance and control? They're looking at it.
This one was interesting. Enterprise grade trust. I thought just giving access to controls to be able to keep your organization secure by using firewall APIs, so making it easier to get information out of Dataverse when you need to go through that. There was other things I've seen along this line, but one of the big thing was being able to share information really outside your enterprise if you needed to, and having a way to get in and out of that. I can't remember.
Control. There's something also related to this is like there was the concept of the cross-tenant working with Power Platform, and before, basically once you were part of the tenant, you were in there and all these pieces, you could use the Power Platform stuff. Now you can actually use like conditional access and the other pieces to prevent a specific part of your organization from using the data in Power Platform specifically, right? So it used to be an all or nothing, but now they're allowing you to have that control. That just came out recently as well. Not
Yeah,
many
there's
folks
better
have
controls or
that
better
use Facebook
controls
for those that
on,
do.
sorry, there's better controls on the data loss prevention and stuff that you can do
Yes.
in there too.
All right. What else we got? A click to click.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh.
Next generation AI in Power Pages is revolutionizing how you build and launch data-centric websites for your business. Instead of spending hours crafting and coding websites, you can use natural language and intelligent suggestions to speed up your website building process. Now with Copilot in Power Pages, you can generate text, build forms, activate chatbots, and enable site design in seconds, all through the power of AI using natural language commands. Start building today with the go-to low-code tool that will help your organization increase productivity and rapidly build websites your customers will love at scale. All securely managed on Microsoft Power Platform. Just think it, describe it, and Power Pages will help you build it.
That's super powerful. Now they're really making it the entry point now to get into Power Pages has become ridiculously simple, I think, for putting that. Here's the thing. The model is for external sharing, and the model is instead of licenses per users, and even for the internal case, it's the concept of the access. You buy a bulk of access, how many people can come in, what they can log in, and you're coming in, you can do Dataverse through it, you do all these other pieces that are happening through it. And now, before you had, there was a, you know what they had last year? Last year they were promoting the pro dev pieces to Power Pages. When we're working with it, a developer can go in and do HTML, do heavy duty stuff, and make things happen. This is sort of like a reverse of that. It's like, well, yeah, so we made it easy for the developers to get their fingers into the small itty bits for it. But then now we're going to bring it back with the AI and say all that stuff those devs have been doing, just say, I wanted this to do this and do that, and it gets done, right? The devs can go in now, and at least they're accelerated. They can go into this and start mucking about from this end, right? But that entry point now has just closed its gap. You don't necessarily need to have the pro devs in there, but when you have stuff like this and you really need to muck about, the pro devs actually, ironically, become more important if you need to maintain it, because that's the one thing the co-pilots don't exactly do. They may have the actions to help you build it, but the part that says, can you go fix something that's broken or find something that's broken? Not yet. We're not there yet. Humans still into play. So this is in preview. I think I'm still waiting for my preview. I requested it. I'm not sure if it's on our site yet, but we're still waiting for it. We can't show this one today, but as soon as we do, this is one to show for sure.
Yeah, it was a big excitement, and I don't have enough around that, because I forgot how much they talked about Copilot at Build. But
it's like if there was a drinking game and Copilot was the keyword, everyone would be like, I don't know, Irish, or what do we call it?
Yes, everybody would have been drunk under the table. So this is not necessarily Build, but I just posted this link. This is all the other Copilot stuff that they're doing. Early access to Copilot, semantic index for Copilot, Copilot in Whiteboard.
Whiteboard, for God's sakes. Whiteboard.
Copilot in PowerPoint.
I want that, though. I need that.
Copilot in Outlook. OneNote, Microsoft Loop, Viva, and there was a couple more that I have a blog post coming out that I'll save it. But yeah, just realize that Copilot is coming, and for those people who don't know what it is, Copilot is the AI that they're building to help you use the tools that they have better. So the way that they look at it is kind of like a paired programming or a virtual assistant. It doesn't do everything for you, but it will help you get started. It'll help you create the framework for what you're trying to do. It'll help you make connections that you need to create, right? If you tell it to create a chart, it'll do that. You still need to know what your system can do, what your tool can do, and how you want that displayed so that you can properly give it the instructions to do that. And then you need to be able to go and tweak it on the back end, because you can't guarantee that this is going to give you it back 100% right. And so a lot of this is taking the basic technology from something like a ChatGPT and bringing it in. They were also very clear that this would, in fact, be segregate to the cloud. Like, it's not going to go out to the cloud and look for everything. It can in its own little containerized department. So some of it is probably outsourced from the cloud, and it'll pull back information. But and one of the things they talked about, and I don't have this in here, Ralph, why don't I have this one in here? Copilots. So building your own Copilot on top of a Copilot. So extending it to say, I want you to look at my data. I want you to look at my internet site and pull information back there. One of the other things that I thought was interesting too was while you're doing searches for like something like a chat for some of the Copilot, that it was only that search that you were doing. So you could use a search and say, I want you to go out and get this information, pull that back and create this table. And then if you went to another thread, it didn't remember that table data was there. So it's a limited grab into something. Unless you fully establish that connection. So they're trying to, there's a bunch of stuff around it, but they're trying to put guardrails on what exactly AI is and how it should be used. And I think I also heard them say something like copyrighted images, so that if you do take some kind of stuff and it copyrights it, so that you know that this was AI generated versus a person actually created it. So trying trying to make your users aware of what's good and what's not. And on a side note, I used like a chat GPT, I think it was chat, to kind of generate a blog post I was running, and I just scabbled it out. But then I took that and I put it through a plagiarism scanner, and it spit it back out in like 9 ways I don't know, just all of this was plagiarized. So you just be careful that when you're doing stuff and using it to pass off as your own work, you gotta go tweak it and edit it and make sure that it's not plagiarized, that you're citing places that you're getting it from, because it will tell you where it was plagiarized, and 2, that the information is correct, because it's just going out and pulling it back in, and it doesn't always verify that the data is correct or that it's up to date, because I've gotten some responses that came back and said that were, stuff dated from 2021, 2022 that still are not
again,
up to date
when
anymore.
you're running ChatGPT or those programs, they will usually give you back those references for you to actually make that determination if it is current or not. And sometimes you can prompt engineer to say, I need something that was published after X date. Sometimes is what I've seen work. To be sure, there's a lot of opportunities in that area. And the reason why we're talking about it here with the Power Platform pieces, not just because of Power Pages, but because people are using the Chat GPT to like write me a Power App that does this, or write me an Automate that does this, and they're not doing it in the tools, they're doing it on the side, and it's giving you these instructions that you follow through. And the difference is now Microsoft is knowing that that's happening, is putting it into the product already for a lot of these things. So expect to see how those work and how those can be. You can actually look at them side by side to see what actually is promoted versus what's not. And you want to consider that Microsoft is sort of vetting it before it gets over here. So there's a thought before you go out and go to the pure Chat GPT and ask for a solution. If you have the corresponding one within your Power Platform or whatever Microsoft product to do the same thing, look at them both and consider them. At the end of the day, it's co-pilot. You were the pilot. You better need to know how to fly. And in some cases, maybe your flying skills have to be a little bit better these days because of the abilities of the co-pilot. Just saying.
Yes. And
right.
so,
Meanwhile,
which leads us into our next update, which is one of Ralph's favorite, Power Virtual Agents. And I've seen a lot of the co-pilot, and Ralph demos this fairly well, being used there, because really it builds itself when you're using Power Virtual Agents. And you tell it what you want and where you want it to search for information and those kind of things, and then it can do that. Ralph, I'll let you take this one.
Yes. So in this particular case, we are going to be a major we're as a partner and level. I'm actually working at that level with folks over here, so we see what's coming. But just this alone should be enough to keep us, as they say, going for a long time. The demo I gave was where we just pointed to a website somewhere and we created like a whole bot that was ready to go. The next part over here is you want to bring in custom language models, which means the stuff that's built to like secure data or to control the prompt and responses and doing all that stuff is the next connection. That's coming into preview right now. A few people are being brought into that one. That's going to be brought in slowly, and they're already showing. And there's a Phil the Shill Topness showing a sample of where, like, when you look at the screen for the preview, you remember there's only one website you can choose. He has like half a dozen different URLs that are in there, internal and external URLs. So it's actually controlling and modifying and like putting scope to how it answers and to what degree it actually answers questions. That is coming up. Let's just say Power Virtual Agents is going to come out of it, whatever it was at. It was there just sitting there. It was like, it's a nice to play toy. All these other bots from like Salesforce and ServiceNow and all the rest were more powerful. But this is a leap, because essentially, like I said, Power Platform Low Code is the universal portal to all the power in the back. All you have to do is make a custom connector or a plugin or an attachment to the other item, and next thing you know, that thing is ridiculously powerful.
And then when you start putting it into your Power Apps or your Power Pages and team bots, which are basically the same thing, right?
Yes.
That I've seen a lot of customers trying to put that into Teams and things like that too. So a lot of cool things out there. I think the best one that I've seen on a bot, and this was like when they were first bringing it out, but was like I think it was the United Airlines, where you could go in and say you want to just check the status of your flight. It'll ask you where you're from, where you're going to, do you know the flight number, and it'll just pull that information back. And then you can make changes through the bot right there. So, and then always, if you get a little bit far, I mean, their site works like that now. So they're running an earlier version, but it's only going to get better, right?
Yes.
Because I'm
sophisticated.
It's got to get, I'm anticipating it getting better in the fact that, like, being able to know where you've gone before and make some connections as to some of the things that you might have not you done, and then offer those up as services to you. But that's just me.
There we go.
And then this one probably falls also in that realm, but Power Automate introduces new ways to develop and create automation for the organization. Basically putting Copilot in your cloud workflows and also in your, I think it's coming to the robotic process automation, or what they call, what is that? I was going to call it land flows. We got cloud flows and we got land on-premises flows. What is?
Business process flows, those things.
That's it. I couldn't remember the word.
Business process flows, yes, sir. So here's the thing. Some of this has been out there. The actual early versions of the GPT, you see the format by example. It's been around for a while. They've showed this out where you put in, I want to do something like this, or I want to make a formula. Let me put the suggestion for a formula that I like to do. It's been there. It's now being improved, getting better to the point where, like, it's actually building things from the suggestion piece in true Copilot fashion, as opposed to, like, here's a little helper, here's a suggestion. It's up to you now to implement suggestion. I'm just going to show you the answer. In this particular case, the idea in the end of the day for a lot of the Copilots is that if you ask the generative AI, how do I do this? I want my app to check user permission before it gives access to this person. And then it'll say how to do it. Their goal eventually is to say, okay, thanks for that suggestion. Do it for me. Okay. And then it puts it in. Right. And then it says, is this what you like? Is there anything else you'd like me to do with it? Yeah, you want fries with that, whatever. And it's going to eventually get to that point as well. And that's over here. Power Automate was actually early on in the concept of the format by example, put those pieces together. Apps came next. And
I do like that they're updating the Power Automate UI too. So
oh yes, the cheese is moving. Look out, folks. Cheese.
That is nice. It's a little bit cleaner. It is a little bit easier to work with.
But cheese moving alert. Just saying.
Yes, and then this was how you can utilize make actions. The SDK for your Cloudflow is now preview 2, so that was on there. And I put the link to this thing. It was on the slide.
The case of, like, when you used to make custom connectors and everything else, they gave you the framework, but you had to go build it, right? And then eventually you follow the instructions, you wrap it up, and you have your custom connector. You can use them in your flow, custom action for all these places. Now it does it for you, and it creates a nice little package that's all set up to make it happen. Essentially, you're the point of getting from here to there. For the developers is like, oh, good. I know I'm going to do it right because I'm following the scheme. A lot of developers are not going to get into the nitty gritty of how Power Platform cares for things. They're just say, show me a spec and I'm there. Well, this is the case of don't even bother. I'm doing something for Power Platform, click the button, and there you go. Oh, look at this. Hosted machines now generally available. Actually, so that's been this is a known thing, right?
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
It's been around there for a while, the concept of the hosted machine. It's been on, like, say, a preview mode. You could try it out. But now what they're saying is people can actually do this. What's hosted machines? Here's the idea. The idea is, instead of you having your own infrastructure in Azure to run your RPA, you pay a certain amount in this particular case, and Microsoft actually hosts the machines, right? So you pay a price, and they take care of all that plumbing, all that stuff. You could have done it, right? But if you give it to them, they can scale up and down to their heart, to whatever is needed for the area, is the idea. So it was like essentially the concept of the hosted machines. It just basically says, like, we're going to take that piece of plumbing and that bother away from you, and we're going to create it as a service. And if you're paying that much money for it anyway, this is essentially a savings. Is they're trying to make it where like, yeah, sure, you're going to pay us for it, but we're going to make it like if you had to do it on your own and you had to scale and do all that stuff, it's going to be a lot more worth it just pay us than to do it. Same like they're doing Power Apps Power Platform licensing. The idea is like I might pay a high entry point or seems high, but if you're doing anything at scale, it pays for itself.
Yes. But they will charge you for it. No, we don't know the pricing model on
Yeah,
that.
they're going to charge for it. Yeah, you're going to have to pay the piper somewhere. But the point is they're trying to direct you to optimize your costs in a particular way. Oh, catalogs. Oh, I actually know about this.
All right. We'll let you talk about it.
And Hal, who was here just a moment ago, was actually on that program, in fact. The idea is like, the idea for catalogs is using, they're creating an area, because before when we created like the COE and everything else, we said, where are we going to put stuff in a central area for people to use it and pick from and do all that stuff? Well, they created an infrastructure for it, and they created a whole CLI set of instructions so that when you're doing app promotions and doing all that stuff, they couldn't just make a catalog and say, just use this. They had to create infrastructure so that your automation tools would be aware of it and set it up. Otherwise, you have to set all that stuff up. You can't really use it. So that's what the catalog is all about. The catalog is not just putting that area for you to put in your templates, your components, and all these pieces, and your apps, right, to select from, but also give you the infrastructure so that you can manage it and do it via CI/CD and the automation, all the good old DevOps tools to make that happen. And so that's what it is. Now, essentially, that marketplace to share components and everything else, the one that's alluded to by the COE, because the COE can only allude to, you have, and at the end of the day, it has to be implemented, actually does it in the interface. It's now part of Power Platform and not a COE tool artifact. That's a big deal. All right, where are we at? Copilot and Power Apps. So lots of changes over here. They were showing things of those off. Things have changed to that extent. They're moving the cheese a lot in this particular area. We actually did. I think we showed like a demo of this, like the preview mode of this before. I wrote an app and then it creates itself with a piece, and I think it was breaking last time we tried it. It was so fresh that it was still broken. Well, we got it working, and I can show you. I can probably in the demo show you what it looks like when it works. But the idea over here is when it builds an app for you, guess what? It makes a Dataverse data app when it does it. That being said, the same copilots can be used to like go to Excel and make an app on top of the Excel. Can't beat that. That didn't exist before. That was added recently.
Yeah, it's this demo.
Aha. Let's build an app, shall we? Are you where you're in the preview.powerapps.com?
No,
is that our M365 list, or is that you're showing a picture?
This is a video.
Oh, that's on the video.
There's
is
no
that
words
is that the Reza video?
Yeah, I think so, but
yeah, because there's no sound on it right now. But this is the upload to Excel file, the Reza video. There's a Reza video on that. Speaking of which, I should go while you're doing that. Go to the next item. I'm going to go see if our M365 Chicago just happens to have that particular piece to play with. M365 Chicago. Oh, wait a minute. Not M365 Chicago. Let me go look at my dev tenant.
The video didn't have sound, though. I'm disappointed. But it's on this page. So there's some examples on this page. I just put it in the chat, I believe.
Oh, those are the demo videos. Once you're playing over there, they don't usually have sound.
I know, but I would like them to have sound.
Okay. Hold on. So this is apps@powerapps.com. Let me go. It's make.preview.powerapps.com, right?
Yeah.
Let me go. I'm going to see if we have that in our tenant, or at least my dev tenant.
And then this was actually the last slide I had. So for the announcements that came out, so like I said, it was a lot of Copilot. I didn't think I forgot I had the slide in here. So anything that you want to demo, Ralph, is what's left on the agenda. Any questions anybody has?
Okay. Let's see. Before we demo anything, so that was the last slide, the last piece of information on the book of news. I think that's it. Let's see. Do we have anything in the chat going on right now? Any questions in the chat before we proceed?
I do not see any.
I have a question about the catalog.
Yes, go for it.
So when code is entered in the catalog, is that only visible to other people in sharing the tenant, or is it super public?
It's only in the tenant. It's not a catalog for every, like the published says like other people on the outside come and look. That's called app source. You give it to Microsoft, and then you follow the rules, and then now you can sell your Power Platform solution to other people. That's the app source. In this particular case, the catalog is an internal thing within the tenant. There's a catalog for people can come to and say, hey, I want to do something like this, and then I can select now from components and stuff that's already pre-built and come in there. The COE kit had something similar, or at least the same idea, using SharePoint and a few other stuff, but they made a formal thing of it, right? So sitting somewhere is a Dataverse with the actual components in there and all the pieces that it needs to make it work. That's the big difference. It was the case of like do it a DIY. Here's a way to do it versus now it's part of the platform. You don't need a COE kit to use it.
Yeah, but here's the app source. So if you go to appsource.microsoft.com, and I put a link to it. I'm sorry. These are some things that people have created and then submitted to them for the Power Platform. So this is public.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, this would be your tenant. So the catalog is tenant. You're welcome.
I
Good
have
question.
thank you. I have one other question. I usually build model-driven apps, and I sometimes build web resources for things I cannot get model-driven apps to do for me. And so is the new, there was an announcement that PowerFX was available for custom plugins. And so does that mean that I might not have to write those JavaScript web resources, or am I confusing different things?
So the concept of the JavaScript web resources is not the concept of the PowerFX plugin. The idea is if, for example, like components, PCF components, those are still JavaScripty things that you would build. They are components, but now take that and stick it into the catalog. Now other people can use your stuff, and they can find it more easily. They can reuse it more easily. That's where it comes into play. That when they talk about the plugins that are going in, it means that you want to do something that's not part of Power Platform, that's not in there, and you want to plug it in to the actions, right? The actions of what PowerFX can do. Maybe an action could be like display jumping cat. That's the action you've created, and all of a sudden this animation of a jumping cat goes flying in there, and that could have been built in whatever it is it's going to be built in. But that's a plugin literally into your PowerFX actions, and it could be jumping cat dot cat type, and then all of a sudden you have that built in.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
Definitely, when that sort of stuff comes out of preview and more into the mainstream, those are kind of topics we definitely want to cover in the Power Platform user group. So, by the way, I'm looking at the preview. I'm comparing the preview now with the here's like, see, this is sort of preview. You see this preview over here for making an app, and then we have the preview. That's what it's going to look like. See, they're different. We're in the preview program, so I'm going to give an example over here. Let me look at, for example, I made a certification tracking app, and this is what it built. This is what didn't work last time, by the way. It's working now. And the case is, I had like certification trackings. It came up with the list, and it looks like this particular form of stuff. And when I went home over here to ask questions about the data, who had the highest score? Now, let me see what it does. John Doe had the highest score of 90, right? And then we can go look over here and we'll see John Doe. Sure enough, he had the highest score and all that stuff. So that's the app that it created. But now when I build an app from here, I want an app to collect game scores for my third grade little league teams. All right, I'm just gonna do that. See what happens.
And Ralph, when you get some time, we have a question.
Oh, we got a question. Let's take the question while we're. Oh wow, that was yikes! That came so fast. I like the score. 1 second. Let me fix this really quick. Show the team update. Update team scores to look like baseball scores. Let me see if it does that. Just curious if it'll update that. It might say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I make high demands. Sure it is. Look at this updated table. Look at the score. Innings. What did I do? Right? I made it baseball, and now it has score. Right? And then here are the innings, the innings that it took to make things happen. All right, that's fine. Let's go ahead and create. Let's see. Let's go ahead and add a column for coach names. Okay. Let's go ahead, add a column for coach names. So I have something in there. So I can say who's the winningest coach. I have an agenda in mind, and I'm just making this up literally as we're speaking. Let's see what it does. All right, there's the coaches. All right, create the app.
All right, while it's creating, Renee, you had a question?
Yes, let's ask the question.
Yeah, I think I do. I was just wondering if Copilot would recognize the organization's configuration, in terms of, well, let's keep it simple, right? Like let's say we have a Power Platform DLP policy set to block a certain connector. Would it still create that? I mean, would it recognize that DLP policy?
Aha.
Yes.
Yes, that's the idea. Is it supposed to?
It'll also recognize the data permissions. So if you were having it access a SharePoint list, it wouldn't, and you didn't have access to that, or more importantly, one of your users didn't have access to that SharePoint list, it wouldn't pull back that data for them.
Exactly. This is definitely, it's supposed to, the whole point. And in fact, that's part of the reason why they're bringing partners like ourselves. We're bringing in our expertise on the case of the AI pieces. And they're already doing this, things like this. They realize that organizations will have rules, compliance, issues, and requests. The reason why this is not yet available in Europe is because essentially Microsoft gave us another product where there was no locks. Here, play and have at it. We'll deal with security later. So remember, there was a time when Microsoft went the whole opposite way with security first. Everything was so locked down, and you had to like open up the levers in order to make things work. They've now come back to the area of let things go, and then we'll let things go. So I want you to
now
notice
it's the collaboration first.
Yes, the idea is collaboration first. Now they're going to come back and work backwards on the way. PVA, copilots, and everything else, the so-called plugins we're talking about, they're going to use the same ideas over there to bring in essentially organization rules, to let DLP now have a bunch of settings that perhaps control it. I'm actually envisioning where DLP will have the Copilot actions where you can say, here's what Copilot should or should not do. If it sees that it's allowed in the environment, it's going to look at the environment and say, when I suggest something for you, it'll be within the environment. But what's Copilot doing now? It's creating a Canvas app, it's creating a Dataverse table. Is there a Twitter connection? I tried, I asked, I want something that posts to Twitter. Is the way what I said in the app, and it didn't. And in the end, all it did was the Dataverse table and the app. But the last piece that said post to Twitter, it didn't do it. And I was thinking, oh, is that because Twitter decided to put in the rules and you can't just use it? And I said, no. I said, well, okay, post to LinkedIn. Same thing.
Even though they pulled the Twitter connection, didn't they?
Yes. So actually, that was regardless of the DLP. They just simply didn't allow it by virtue of the interface. But they said, anyways, before we did that, we would want to take DLP policy into effect. It's like if the DLP says you can't use these connectors or do anything in your environment, then when the app gets created, either maybe the Copilot will come back and say, hey, the thing that you're asking cannot be done in those environments, but it can be done in these. Would you like me to proceed? Yes or no? I'd love an app to do that. That'd be great.
Didn't they
you
just
see
do
over
something
here?
with the Twitter connector and Power Apps, or was that something else that I'd heard?
No, oh, so there's the news about the Twitter connector and Power Apps because the Birdman decided to charge big money for developers to use it. I think 45 grand, and Microsoft said, nah, never mind. We'll just turn it off. If you wanted to use the Twitter connector, you can, but now you can't use the Microsoft Twitter connector because the one they made for them, they just basically shut that down.
Which could have been a reason why it didn't build in your app.
Well, yeah. So if you wanted to still use Twitter and posted it, it'll be up to you to go and secure your own developer access to the system, get your own credentials, and deal with it like you would a custom API. Create a connector wrapper and play.
I knew something, Ralph. Look at that.
Yep. So by the way, you see this app with the game scores? You see what's missing? Here's the other app with the certification app. This is what it looked like. I had a question the app, or I had this piece. And now when I did it today, just now, it made just the app editing, but nothing else. Okay. Well, that's not so nice. So let's do that again with the preview. I want an app that tracks my third grade Little League team scores. And I'm just going to essentially, I'm going to follow the same script. I just want to see if it does the same thing. There's a table. Let's find out if the table is even the same. So we're going to, so our challenge today is we're going to compare preview A or brand X with preview B, or I'm on preview and I'm supposedly newer than you. And it created, it's sort of in a different format. And it put location in there this time. So it's different. Please change the scores to reflect typical baseball scores. Okay. I should say please, but I already gave the offering to our robot masters. Let's see what happens. That's pretty much what I did in the last one. I just want to see if this one will do something different. But it already did something different. It added location. I didn't ask for it. It just gave it. And now I have scores. And remember, the inning is gone. So why does that make a difference? Well, the other one, if you think about it, why do I care? We know baseball's 9 innings. Why did it have to put in the innings in there? Please add a list of coaches for each team. Let's find out if I just say a list of coaches, what it does. If it puts a single coach or it gives me a multi. Did I hit enter? Go. And thinking. And it gave me coach names, and now it gave me emails as well, and phone numbers for the coaches. And what happened to the score? Where is the score?
You lost the score.
I lost the score. What's it?
Please put the scores back.
Please add the scores, baseball scores back.
And just on a side note, it's always nice to be polite to your Ralph. Call some robot masters because you don't know when they're going to become setting it and remember you. Ralph, we're closing up on time, so
yes,
we need to start wrapping.
Almost there. We're going to add this really quick and see what happens because I want to make an app and I want to see if it adds this stuff. Okay, there the scores again. Please update the scores to look like typical Typical baseball scores. All right, here we go. Scores. Go. Let's see if it kills anything as it goes on. Okay, this is as good as it gets. So I'm going to create the app, and we're going to find out if it gives us that the talk to your data piece in here, or do they just take that away from us after teasing us with it? Because that was a tease. When I had this ability, that was teasing. It's like, hey, we're going to give that. It's like, well, I have a feeling people said, but I may not want that. In fact, it's if I see this start from there, I would say yes. And if I see it start from the data again, I'm going to say that maybe they want the Copilot for you to ask for it in the Copilot and no longer for free from when you make the app. We'll find out shortly. The moment of truth. So that's exactly what they did on the main screen. So I literally have to add a new screen. Not duplicate screen. Where's my add screen? Insert a screen. Where is my screen? It's only giving me one layer. Right over here. Here we go. Now to add page to the sidebar, I should have the add a screen. And it's missing. They changed, this is what I mean by they changed the pieces over here. There we go. New screen. Let's go with the blank screen. Thank you. I will take this. All right. Now, what do I want in here? Let's see if the Copilot is available on here, because it might be that they don't have that in here. And I don't have the Copilot over here. We got to go find out where that is. But there is a Copilot piece. The whole point over here for the Copilot is now I can add stuff with my Copilot instead of having to build it from scratch over here. And I don't have it over here yet. All right, so we won't look at that right now. But next time when that's back and that's back alive, we'll go take a look at that again, because I think that's very important to show the true Copilot stuff in action. We just don't have that ready to go just yet. All right, there hasn't really been any change to the PVA piece yet. That has not changed, at least not for our preview yet. And again, you have to look at the build videos and everything else to see all the cool stuff that's going through. But we're going to go through all of these as the next few months go through. Every time something's alive, we're going to make sure we give, we might have some regular talks for things, but we're going to make a few minutes at least to show you what's available, what you can get as previews. Otherwise, if you see a link that says, join a preview, you want to play, click on that link right away. That's why it's good to have a dev tenant. We mentioned having a dev tenant for yourselves before. It's a good idea to have, and here it is. All right, next steps. What do you have? Joining the user group, the LinkedIn group. You know, we need to put in here, we need to put in the YouTube site for the folks that are here to be able to find it. Of course, if you're here from the YouTube, you're already there. So mark it, subscribe, and see where you're going.
Oh, we need to clean that up. I forgot to do that.
All right.
We'll work on that.
Any other questions? This is our last chance for a few questions before we're done.
Let's say nope. Going once. Be safe on your drive home. This is held over from when we used to meet in person.
Yeah, and for the folks that we missed that came in a little bit later, hey, hi, welcome back. I know we see some familiar faces that came in over here. So thanks for being here for the live session. It will be noted, your karma shall return goodness to you for sure. All right. I think Raquel, you can take us out of the YouTube now. Say bye to the folks at YouTube. Bye, everybody.
Hey, we're up to 38 subscribers.